Marble communities in Naga City, the Philippines, list propositions, having heard the events of their thesis, has decided to confer the degree of doctor on Graciela Peters Guarin, born in Chinchina Caldas, Colombia, on the 11th of January 1969, and the grant of all rights and privileges ensuing from the doctorate by law and custom. The boards expect of her that the duty to meticulously and ethically perform research has been accepted herewith, in accordance with the prevailing Dutch codes of conduct for science practice. I now invite the supervisor, Professor Felix, to acquit himself of his duty.
You have heard the decision of the Academic Board of the International Institute of Geoinformation Science and the Academic Board of Wageningen University to confer on you, Graciela Peters Guarin, the degree of doctor. It is now my honor to present you with the degree signed by the Deputy Rector Magnificus, the Rector of the International Institute of Geoinformation Science and Earth Observation, the supervisors and co-supervisors, and sealed with the Great Seal of Wageningen University.
Thank you.
Begin to reflect on the position of your thesis in the field of disaster studies. Your dissertation fits into the growing academic and policy emphasis put on community involvement in disaster preparedness, mitigation and management, into what you yourself in your book have called the paradigm shift from top-down to collaborative approaches to risk assessment. This process is going on since halfway the International Decade of Disaster Risk Reduction, when in 1994 the Yokohama Strategy and Plan for Action called for a more people-centered approach. Though the focus on community-based disaster management is in and of itself, therefore, in its adolescence, with some progress being made the last couple of years, in practice, local knowledge and people scoping mechanisms are still often ignored, as experts find it difficult to collect, but it also cannot easily be integrated in existing models, partly, and that's the topic of your thesis, because local knowledge is not expressed in spatial terms. Your contribution is unique in that it does not take so much an alternative community-based or bottom-up approach in isolation, as we often see, but exactly tries to resolve those bottlenecks by integrating local knowledge into prevailing GIS-based flood risk assessments. And in this way, those assessments become, so to say, localized or permeated with local knowledge, and hence better tuned to local realities and experiences. This feature is already, according to the committee, an achievement of full magnitude beyond the usual fashionable rhetorics of declarations and action plans. Let me now turn to the academic merits of your work. Your thesis, indeed, is a very comprehensive piece of work. It not only provides a substantive section on the theoretical and conceptual perspectives employed, and an elaborate justification of the methodology followed, but also gives a wealth of original material based on your primary data collection and the further modeling of that data. You have done original fieldwork in Naga City's barrios of Triangulo and Mabolo, designing and developing an appropriate set of tools and methods that were based on interactive, participatory and learning-based approaches together with the communities at risk themselves. This has, among others, provided an original, locally derived manageability concept that reflects local reality, coping possibilities and impossibilities much better than the standards used so far. Similarly, you have developed an approach to grasp the local household's vulnerability, finally combining all those different components into a risk assessment based on both qualitative and quantitative information. With this research, you have shown us a number of important insights. First of all, the prevalence of extensive knowledge base on flood phenomena at a local level that can be considered as highly useful, and I would even say indispensable, for proper risk management. Second, the continuing emphasis, I think also quite correctly, on local coping capabilities, and again, this earlier mentioned manageability concepts. And thirdly, your thesis shows that local knowledge can indeed be spatially organized, analyzed, and integrated into a GIS environment, leading to an optimal combination of local knowledge with hydrological information and spatial analysis. The committee, in its discussion, found your research original, well-designed, executed, and despite its high level of complexity, well-structured and presented, also thanks to the many tables, maps, and figures in your study. Next, to the qualitative descriptions of daily life and flood experiences in those barangays. Your study was also based on solid field work and extensive modeling. The committee has judged the totality of your work as good to very good and commends you with the results.
I'm very happy that you have reached this phase. And can honestly say that Eric and I sometimes were worried whether these distractions would prevent you from actually reaching it. In your MSc work, you were a bit of a slow starter, but after reaching a critical point, you suddenly saw the light and then you started producing. In your PhD, this was amplified like 3 times. You have also to deal with difficulties such as moving back between Amsterdam, Naga, Stockholm, Manizales, and a lot of other places. The most critical period, however, we thought was when your laptop got stolen from the apartment with all the data. You recovered a large part of it, but still it was a major setback. But you managed to deal with it successfully. In the course of the work, you've had help of a lot of people. It was also good to acknowledge the great input that was given by Dino in modeling work and also by Nanette, and also from a series of MSc students such as Zul, Muhibudin, Milagros, Maffei, Peter, Luca, and Saud. Many of those are now doing their PhD in other countries, which is also interesting. Also, the support by the people from ADPC and from Naga was very important, such as the mayor and Anastas El Kamel. And I think also it will be good if we would go back to Naga and present to them the result of your work. Dear Graciela, it's been an exciting period to work with you. I'm happy that you are able to stay here at ITC for another year as a postdoc doing work related to climate change. I also hope we will be able to publish a number of papers from your interesting thesis, and I wish you a very successful career. To end, let's say, how many times did we hear that word during this event? I would like, with a typical Paisa sentence, for instance, another word we heard a lot of times. It is a bit related to the topic. Agua que no has de beber, mejor déjala correr. Thank you very much.
Anyway, with these words, I would like to close. And in the congratulations, by the way, I also want to extend to your mother, who happens to be here. I'm very glad that she made it here. With these words, I want to close this session and invite you all to the reception afterwards.
Unas palabras. For instance.